Back with another edition of the Kaufman Corner podcast with you here on a Thursday morning, 8:30. If you catch us via the podcast, remember we stream live. You can be a part of the conversation with Les Norman, former Royals outfielder. David Lesky, Inside the Crown. My name is Soren Petro. As we talk some Royals baseball here this morning, and a lot happening with the boys in blue. One, they fall last night 4-0, but they're at 500 against a rugged schedule. We'll talk about it. Vinnie Pascantino has been driving in runs, but the swing doesn't look the same. What's different? How does he get back on track? Is the defensive rotation working? What's the timeline for Jac Caglianone coming up, and how much does trying to get an extra draft pick for him finishing in the Rookie of the Year factor in? What are the rules that go into that, and how much might that play a role in when he actually comes up? What's real? What's not real with this Royals start to the season? What should we expect from Drew Waters? If there's time, we'll get into fixing the outfield. Pros and cons of platooning. They're doing a lot of it. How much does it help? We're talking about it right now here on the Kaufman Corner podcast.
You're listening to the Kaufman Corner podcast, the most in-depth analysis of the Kansas City Royals, breaking down the Royals like no one else can. Kaufman Corner is hosted by David Lesky, Les Norman, and Soren Petro. David Lesky is an accomplished author and the publisher of the Inside the Crown Royals baseball newsletter. Les Norman is a former Royals outfielder. He's the host of Breaking the Norm with Les Norman on Sports Radio 810 WHB, as well as the author of Teaching the Tools of Hitting. Soren is the award-winning afternoon drive host of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. Kaufman Corner is proudly brought to you by David Starnes Allstate Insurance, covering all the important things in your world. Home, business, life, and even the fun stuff as well. Motorcycle, boat, ATV, you name it, get with Dave and he'll have you covered. Give Dave and his crew a call at 816-781-7331. Visit them online or stop into any of their locations, including North Kansas City, Liberty, and Branson, Missouri. Don't put those insurance needs off any longer. Get with Dave today. He'll give you peace of mind for the things in your life most important to you. Now, here are your hosts, David Lesky, Les Norman, and Soren Petro.
Thank you very much, Curtis. We do appreciate it as we are off and running here with the Kaufman Corner podcast. And guys, let's dive right in. Let's talk about Vinnie Pascantino. What are we seeing? He's driving in runs. The batting average is down. Doesn't look like the same patient hitter. David, you were talking about the chase rates are not where you want to see him. What are you seeing in Vinnie Pascantino, and how close is he to being the best version of himself?
Yeah, I mean, the big thing I look at, and there are a number of different chase rates, which make you question a little bit what's real and what's not. But StatCast is what I use generally. When he came up in 2022, 25.6% chase rate. Then it jumped 32%. Then it fell a little bit last year, 30.5%. League average is around 28. And then this year it's 41.8% to start the season. So it's just so interesting to me. And I feel like I may have said this on your show 3 years ago when Pasquantino came up, that it's just so refreshing to see such a good plate appearance every single time, because he doesn't swing it. Yeah, he doesn't swing at bad pitches. He swings at good pitches. He takes strikes he shouldn't swing at. All this stuff is great. And there was even a point at some point in 22 when he said, look, I don't want to say that I have good plate discipline. I make good decisions. And that was kind of the first swing decision that we heard, even though it was before we heard swing decisions from the current Royals staff. And it's just devolved. And there are a couple things I think at play here. I don't think that the Royals are saying, hey, swing at everything. I think that Vinnie Pascantino, and I don't know when this happened, maybe it was in 22, maybe it was in 23 sometime, said, I need to drive in runs. This is my job. My job is to put the bat on the ball and get runners home. And I don't hate the thought process. I hate that it's changed the hitter that he was 3 years ago, because I think he puts the bat on the ball at all costs. And you look at that at bat on, Tuesday night with the bases loaded. And the result, he ended up flying out in 3 weeks. That's probably a grand slam. I mean, it was 5 feet from the wall. It was whatever. So I don't want to hate on the result, because if it was a little bit warmer, I wouldn't be talking about this quite as much. But he could have walked like 4 times in that at bat and walked in a run and passed the baton. And he needs to understand. I think, and again, I haven't talked to him, so maybe I'm way off here. I think he needs to understand that it's okay to let Salvador Perez drive in the run. if 4 balls are thrown, if it's 3-1 and the pitch comes in, that's not a pitch you can do damage on, but he sees it as a pitch you can hit a fly ball to left on and drive in a run from third. Take it, get to 3-2, and go live for the next pitch, live for the next batter. That's what I'm seeing, and it's concerning because part of what made me believe that he was going to be, and I said this a million times in 22, Vinnie Pascantino is a top 30 hitter in baseball. And he was in 22 as a rookie by weighted runs created plus, by OPS plus, he was a top 30 hitter. And all of a sudden he started swinging at everything. And that's not the case anymore, which the Royals need him to be a top, I don't know, maybe not 30, but a top 50 hitter. And he's not that right now because he swings at everything in an effort to drive in the run. And I think I was vindicated a little bit in that thought process last night, because when he came up with nobody on, it was a much better plate appearance. It was like the 7th inning, sixth or 7th. He came up with nobody on, nobody to drive in. He spit on a couple pitches. So it's there. I think he just needs to recalibrate his idea of what is positive for the offense and get back to that approach.
Yeah. What do you see, Les? I mean, do you see a guy that's, the chase rate look like what you're seeing with the eye test?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I think in last night's game, I think a guy like Joe Ryan, who has just massive movement on his fastball, even his 4-seamer just moves like a foot away from lefties. You could see in that at bat, that Bobby Witt Jr. had just got on second base. I think it was a 1-1 count maybe. And instead of taking that pitch, he ends up trying to lift it to left field, or he gets out front on a changeup that moved away. Maybe it was just a BP fastball, but I think that Joe Ryan exposed finally what we all were thinking or suspecting and what Vinny's doing. And you look at his face, you look at his swing, his muscles are tight, his body's kind of shaking a little bit, not like a fear shaking, but like a tension where he's trying to swing at everything. He's getting behind in counts really quickly. It definitely is that. It looks like it's that, like David said, it's that idea that I have to drive in runs. I'm up here to drive in runs. Well, right now you're hitting 189 or something like that. And if you hit 189, you're probably not going to get to 100 RBIs or even 80 RBIs, because there's not going to be, he's hitting behind Bobby Witt Jr. However, that's not always going to work out, because when you're hitting that low, you're going to strike out more when you're chasing more. Pitchers are going to be able to figure that stuff out. As I watch Vinnie Pascantino hit right now, it almost looks like he's trying to make up for all the at-bats he's lost with the injuries of the couple previous years. Now, of course, there's no way to qualify or quantify that. It just seems like that's what I see. So I see a lot of tension. I don't see a guy like last night. He could have tried to pull a ball. The other day, there was a runner on, Bobby Witt Jr. was on third. It was the contact play. He hit that little bleeder to the first baseman, but it got a run in. So it was an RBI. So yeah, you're happy with that, and that's great. But again, over the long run, Vinny hitting little dribblers to the infield to get guys in, that's just not going to work. He needs sack flies. He needs to drive the ball to the out, drive the ball hard through the infield. And so I agree that it needs to be a mindset change, that if he focuses on just hitting the ball hard, he's going to let the ball get deeper. He's going to make more solid contact. Right now, he's out front a little. He's chasing. He's rolling over. He's tight. And that is not going to equate to a RBI.
Yeah, one of the things he said to Randy and I in a conversation that we had was when we had him on, I don't know, a couple months ago, was that he wanted to he thought he got a little too pull happy last year, right? Mm-hmm. And that he wanted to maybe, work the other way a little bit. And that's what's kind of interesting is that seems to be an anti-chase approach, right? And to see these numbers, it seems to be I'm going to go with the pitch and spin on. I will say this, like the good news is this is Vinny struggling, 10 RBI, right? Like that is one of the things that, are we confident enough, David, that he's got enough of a track record that he will come around? We're not worried that this is going to be a chronic problem. It's just a matter of, getting him going. I mean, everybody, the best hitters have slow points. Is he an accomplished enough hitter that we feel confident he'll get it fixed?
I think you feel confident that he'll at least turn it around to be above average. They need him to be more than that right now, of course, but a couple of things that stand out to me. You mentioned he wanted to pull the ball less. 55.6% pull rate. That's the highest of his career by far. So that's not happening. He's swinging and missing, basically double the swing and miss rate from previous seasons. And the one thing, to Les's point about him trying so hard, I look at his bat speed. And that's something that we haven't been able to track until last year. 71.7 mile per hour average bat speed last year, which is fine. 74.4 this year. It's not always better to swing harder. Some guys, absolutely. Some guys need to swing harder and just grip it and rip it. And then you look at some guys and they do better when they're a lot more under control. And it's not, we can say, hey, we can say everybody needs to do this, everybody needs to do that. There's not a one size fits all approach. So like I said, some guys do need to swing harder. I'm not sure that Vinny's that guy. And I think that I think there is some pressing going on. But I do think that the track record suggests, okay, maybe he's never going to be the guy we thought he was going to be in 22 when he was so patient. And he really, I mean, the numbers he put up in 2022, if you get, what was he at? 830 OPS, 135, 136 weighted runs created plus, whatever it was, you get that, you are thrilled. And you move around top prospects for that guy. You do. But, if he's that guy who is, last year he was 108 weighted runs created plus, and 23 he was 103. I think some of that was he was playing hurt before he had the surgery. So maybe take that with a little bit of a grain of salt. But he needs to be the guy who walks as much as he strikes out, who takes the pitches, who doesn't try to do too much. And I think he can get back to that. I think this is probably just a slump, and it's easy to see because it's the only numbers we have through 12 games. But yeah, it's a little bit concerning.
Les, you had a cannon for an arm. You were a guy that were certainly positive on the defensive side. What do you think of how they're rotating everyone defensively right now? Is it working, and is this the best way for them to be doing things?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I'm going to throw it out there and just say, look, when you've got Kyle Isbell is the good outfielder in all of this group. Jonathan India, it's not his fault. He hasn't played out there enough. Garcia hasn't played out there enough. MJ, he did work hard on it. He's taken some good routes, but he's still not the pure outfielder that we know. All the shifting around all the time, I feel like creates instability. I know certain situations and certain teams are that's all they can do. That's all they have. That's the only option they have. And right now, the Royals early in the season are maybe trying to figure out the combination. Drew Waters is up now, and he kind of has to be, obviously. And so we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But I feel like when guys play different positions, it's not easy. Look, as an outfielder, I could play all three. You could put me in any position, and I knew angles were different. I knew the communication was different. However, the key is they're all different. And so when you're moving guys around a lot, or this guy's one time playing over here, one time playing over here, and then he's playing infield, sure, you can be a talented athlete. You're a world-class athlete to be a Major League Baseball player, but it is a little bit tough. And so much of this game is mental. And when you're platooning and you're good at all positions and your team is doing well, that's one thing. But if you're platooning because they're trying to find the right fit and you may or may not be a part of that, that can be difficult. I mean, Indy is going to play every day, but Indy is not a left fielder, I don't think. I think he needs to be playing third base and some second base, and that's it. And so this whole thing in the offseason, by not securing at least one of those corner outfield spots, has created this position. And so you're not necessarily trying to find the best outfielder or the best this guy or this guy. You're trying to put something together to catch lightning in a bottle, it feels like. And so I wasn't in the outfield fine. The Royals knew better than to make me an infielder. I mean, in Little League, I got beat out by a 12-year-old girl at second base. That's why I became an outfielder in the first place. So that was wise of that coach to do that. But it's just hard to build up your confidence. It's hard. You need routine every day. Athletes need routine. And I just feel like over time, if they don't get this solved, then this whole platoon thing, this back and forth infield, outfield is just going to create uneasiness, whether they admit it or not. It's just going to be difficult to do something long-term in a positive way.
Should be pointed out that it was Tatum O'Neal who beat him out, wanted to be ace pitcher for the Bad News Bears as well. So she could go, she could play.
Hey, to my point, Pat Folletti was her name, and she was an All-American in college, I think, in 3 different sports. So, there's a little bit there that I can live with.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you buried the lead on that one, Les.
Yeah. Got beat up by a 3-time All-American is what it sounds like to me. David, how about it? Like, do the offensive gains, they're obviously looking for the best matchups to put the best lineup out there, and then they're kind of putting defense second, which is something that the Rays, I was under the impression, I didn't watch them game in, game out, but part of the vibe that I was heard is that, like, that's not how the Rays do things. They're always have defense on the mind. Like, is this a worthwhile trade-off if you're lessening your defense to maybe try to get the best array of hitters in against that night's pitcher?
I think that it can be. I don't necessarily think with this group it is, though, because if you've got, I'm just going to throw names. If you're platooning Yordan Alvarez and Aaron Judge, which you never platoon those two, but whatever. But if you're getting those guys in the lineup, sure, because you are getting a player who mashes lefties, a player who mashes righties. I think that makes sense. And I think that you move them around. I think you figure it out. And if you give up a run on defense, that's fine, because they're probably going to get 2 runs on offense. But I don't think this group does that. And so I think you've got to be with who you are. And I don't know that they have a huge choice right now, because if you want to get India and Massey and Pasquantino and Salvi and all that in the lineup, somebody's going to be playing out of position. And Garcia, somebody is going to be playing a spot where they maybe are a little bit less comfortable. And it's part of the roster makeup of this team. It's a little bit wonky. It's always been a little bit wonky. There are ways to figure it out, but the way to figure it out is Jonathan India plays some left field. Michael Garcia plays some center field. And I think it's okay. I think one guy on the team doing it is fine. It's a little bit concerning to me that it's Garcia and India both playing every day without a position, because, and I think the other thing that we haven't mentioned, and I think I would assume Les will agree with this, I might be wrong, but I think that when you, as Kyle Isbell in center field, or the corner outfielders too, if Garcia is playing center field, when you are dealing with different people to your sides every single day, it can become, I think it sets yourself up for some communication issues. It sets yourself up for some difficulty in, you look at when there's a different second baseman and the first baseman doesn't realize, oh, I don't need to go as far to my right, or I need to go farther to my right. It's the same thing in the outfield. And so I think that it can lead to those problems. Now, the coaching staff is there, the players are there, they're professionals. They need to work through that, of course, but they're still humans. And when you have different people around you every single day, there is at least an increased possibility for errors and mistakes. And that's part of it too. And my hope, I think it'll settle as the season goes on. I think that this coaching staff, and they showed it with the bullpen last year, they are willing to make some moves and try things. And they understand that, hey, we've got 162 games and we might lose one today to win 3 next in September or whatever. But I think at some point they're going to need to settle this, because I think it can lead to some issues down the road.
Yeah. And they do have time, right? Maybe this is just, let's try to figure it out. Then they'll figure it out. The second half, everybody locks in. We'll find out. Are they going to lock Jac Caglianone in? We'll get to that here in a moment. First, we'll tell you about our friends at David Starnes Allstate Insurance.
David Starnes Allstate Insurance, serving the Kansas City area and all throughout the Midwest. With David Starnes Allstate, it's not just about fender benders. Beyond traditional safeguards, enjoy perks like roadside assistance for unexpected breakdowns, transportation expense coverage when your car is in the shop, auto replacement protection to keep you on the road in style, and much more. You can give Dave and his crew a call at 816-781-7331. Visit them online or stop into any of their locations, including North Kansas City, Liberty, and Branson, Missouri. David Starnes, Allstate Insurance. Northland Injury Law, Kansas City's Google 5-star rated personal injury lawyers, serving KC for more than 40 years, voted Kansas City's #1 accident lawyers, helping people with serious injuries from car accidents, work accidents, falls, and other personal injuries. Northland Injury Law doesn't get paid unless they get money for their client. Don't wait, get compensated now. If you have a case, text HURT to 22222. That's HURT to 22222, or call 816-400-HURT. That's 816-400-4878. The choice of a lawyer is an important one and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
All right, let's talk a little bit about Jac Caglianone and when they're going to bring him up. The prospect promotion incentive, right, is something that is going to, we know, we saw it work to the Royals' favor with, Bobby Witt Jr. coming in second in the MVP. The Royals are getting a sandwich pick in this year's draft. That's the positive side of it, and it's designed for top 100 prospects to basically the incentive for the club to bring them up and not do the little service time game where you leave him down for 2 or 3 or 4 weeks in an effort to try to suppress the service time and basically buy an extra year. I want to read you a couple of the things. that I got from MLB.com as to what the rules are, just so we're all understanding what goes into it. Player must be rated as a preseason top 100 prospect by at least 2 of the 3 major scouting publications: MLB Pipeline, Baseball America, and or ESPN. Check, right? He checks that box. The player must win the AL or NL Rookie of the Year, place top 3 for the AL or NL MVP, or place top 3 for the AL or NL MVP, Cy Young Award, before qualifying for arbitration. So this is obviously something that will continue on. Player must be rookie eligible and have fewer than 60 days prior MLB service, which is also the stipulation MLB Pipeline makes for its top 100. So if you're appearing in that one, you're clicking it. The bottom line is this. So they want you to break camp. He doesn't have to break camp this year, which he didn't, but it would mean that he can't play more than 60 games this year, and then he would need to break camp with the team next year for them to be eligible. So what does that mean? How much should that guide, David, when they bring up Jac Caglianone? Are they waiting for the last 60 days? Is it worth it, even if you're in contention, you have a spot, and he can help you?
I think that they have to think about it, right? It has to be something that they at least consider, because you have to consider all things as a general manager, as a front office. In my opinion, I wouldn't worry about it. And I know the draft pick is beneficial. It's great. It's useful. It's great that they got a draft pick for Bobby Witt Jr. I obviously you want that. The problem that I have with it is I don't think you need to center all your plans around maybe possibly getting a draft pick, because the reality is, if he doesn't win Rookie of the Year, which there are a lot of great candidates, I'm not saying he wouldn't if he came up, and he could still come up today and it would count as a full season. I think it's like, let's see, there's 187 days in a season, 172 gets you a full year of service. So with March 27th, they're close. It's tomorrow, I think, is the last day they could bring him up and still be in there. So put that aside. But I looked it up a little bit. Guys like him are less likely to get MVP votes, because voters have skewed heavily toward the non-hitter only. And that's not to say that if he plays right field, great, that changes things, obviously. But there have been, let's see, 5 first basemen to finish top 3 in the MVP vote in the last 8 seasons, not including 2020. I don't count that because it's weird. And there have been 5 hitter only guys. And by that, I mean Shohei Ohtani last year, Juan Soto last year, Yordan Alvarez in 22, Soto in 21, and Giancarlo Stanton in 2017. So guys who don't provide a lot of value outside of their bat and first baseman, there have been 10 in 7 years, which is a lot to finish top 3, because that's 21 spots.
Actually, I don't know if you realize this, but I think you're being counterproductive to your point, because you got me excited. Like those numbers, I'm like, oh, okay. There's more. This isn't just Jim Carrey. So you're saying there's a chance. There is a chance, but think about some of the numbers that these guys have put up. The first baseman, every single one of them, 400 plus on base percentage. Let's see, 3 of them, 563 plus slugging percentage, which I think Caglianone can do. The lowest batting average, 297 of those first basemen. To get there, you put up monster numbers. It's not just, they had a really nice season and they finished 3rd in the MVP vote. No, they have monster numbers. The hitters, it was Ohtani last year. It was Soto last year putting up monster numbers. Alvarez, 400 on base, 600 slug the year that he was in there. Juan Soto in 21, 465 on base percentage. Like, these are not, and Stanton in 2017, 59 home runs. These aren't just, he hit 286 with a 371 on base and 528 slugging percentage. No, these are monster seasons. And that's not to say that Caglianone can't put that up, but in Kauffman Stadium, the slugging percentage, his power plays anywhere, obviously, but he's not going to get some cheapy home runs. There's a lot there that it takes so much to get there as a first baseman, as a hitter only, that it's just very difficult to get there. And I don't know that the Royals should necessarily say, we're going to alter our plans because of that. Now, if they were terrible, if they get to June and they're 10 games under 500, just wait till August. That's fine. But if they're winning, winning is more important than getting a 2028 draft pick to me. And I think, or 27, whatever year it ends up being, I just think it's more important in that regard. And if he's ready on June 15th, he's ready on June 15th.
he's ready if it's not till August 28th, great. You can still get that draft pick. But I think it has to be a part of the conversation, but they can't base everything around that.
Well, that's how much, you've pushed through the minor leagues. How likely is it that he's going to be ready with more than 60 days left in the season? I know he's off to a great start. He's off to a great start in Double-A. Like, how fast should we realistically be looking at the Royals pushing him?
Well, it's kind of a point counterpoint. I'll start with this. I loathe as a player. I know I'm on the player side, but I loathe the whole business part. I know it's a business. It's the game of service time. We got to think about our arbitration down the road and what we don't want to pay him and all those things. I get that. But for me, if a guy's ready, a guy's ready. Now, just because he's off to a great start and hitting home runs almost 500 feet, sure, those are great. He is off to a great start. I've had hot starts before to a season, not that hot, and I was never Jac Caglianone. But the point I'm trying to make is that you can start great, but you still have to be able to see how you weather difficult stretches. Are your at-bats the same? Are you still hitting the ball hard? Things like that. I would like to see Jac not struggle a little bit, but struggle a little bit, if that makes sense. Not like some major slump, but you want to see mentally what he's made of. We know he's a big league hitter. He hits the ball hard all the time. He had a good spring. I don't really always hold a lot of weight to spring training because pitchers are throwing more fastballs. They're just trying to locate a little bit more. They're not in midseason form. And so it's good that he showed up and showed maturity and hit the ball hard and hit some home runs in spring training. That's great. But I still want to see him at least a little bit how he responds. Now, if you get to June and he hasn't shown any negative, he's still hitting 4 something. He's not going to hit 500 in the minor leagues. It's just not going to happen. And probably won't hit 400. But if he's still hitting 360, 370, 380 and driving in a ton of runs and his contact is constant, his miles per hour off the bat is ridiculous, then yeah, let's not play around. Let's get the guy up here. I don't think right now is necessarily the point, but I also don't think if he's continuing to be hot and the Royals are kind of they're so there may be a wild card, then maybe you bring him up before that because you need to get him into a position where the current Royals are comfortable with him. And then he's comfortable playing in Kauffman Stadium. He's comfortable playing in the big leagues, and he can get that surreal wow factor out of here. I think he's a big league hitter right now, physically. Let's just let him learn how to play the game a little bit mentally when he struggles. And then, okay, if you get a draft pick, great. If you don't, great. But he is an amazing once-in-a-lifetime draft pick, just like Bobby Witt Jr. was. And so let's put all that timeline off the table, let him struggle a bit, and then when he's ready, call him up.
He's a high pick, but he wasn't a consideration for number 1 overall.
Right.
But now Francisco Lindor wasn't either. And he was the best player in his draft. So that doesn't mean
Mike Trout went 23rd or whatever it was.
Yeah. I think that relates back, David, to your point about the on-base percentage. I mean, he didn't, he chases. There are advanced metrics that say, I had somebody tell me, think Salvador Perez, but left-handed. Right. So
the difference, I will say, the difference is his plate coverage is insane. And so he chases because he can hit that ball hard. But again, real quick, sorry to interrupt. No. 17.3% swinging strike rate this year in Double-A still. The numbers are phenomenal. The contact plays, he's got to make some more contact. I mean, I think it's a fair thing to ask from the Royals organization.
Is the rule flawed, David? Is there something they could do to tweak it? Because we know what the incentive is. The incentive is to try to not force guys down to the minors and lose a year. It's to incentivize teams to bring a guy up so that you're not burying a guy from getting to his arbitration and really getting to his free agent years. So that there's, to make that effective, you just say, well, anybody's eligible. Well, then you go back to incentivizing not bringing a guy up at the beginning of the year. So is there a way to tweak this rule?
Yeah, maybe. I haven't thought too hard about it because you're right. You change the rule and all of a sudden it negates the rule. But I mean, maybe there's lesser compensation if a guy comes up by May 1st, by June 1st, but maybe you go every month or up to August, I guess, because that gets in the 60 days. Maybe you give them, okay, you don't get this pick. You get a pick after the 4th round if they're up after May 1st. You get a pick after the 7th round if they're up after June 1st, whatever. Maybe that's the answer. I don't know.
I think for college players, you could say if you're promoted within 365 days of being drafted, then
sure,
you're like, okay, you might need 2 months in it, but you might not need long, right? Mm-hmm. And also let's do say it's a couple of weeks, right? Like, let's let him, lest we might get his struggles. They might be coming tomorrow, right?
Mhm.
And so we're all
Yeah.
excited about this start, but no one's about ready to promote him right now. It's just a very encouraging start. And we think it might be something that they have to consider, right? Not
Mhm.
something that, oh my God, this is it. They're going to have to deal with it one way or the other. I don't think we're, necessarily at that point right now. Listen, if you own a business and you are finding that oftentimes you are spending a lot of time dealing with liability issues out in your parking lot, bumper cars because your lot's not striped properly, call our friends at Gann Asphalt and Concrete.
Gann Asphalt and Concrete, proudly serving the greater Kansas City area. Nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor. Locally owned and making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Let Gann educate you about the most cost-effective way to solve your parking lot problems. With free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews, and every project comes with a written warranty, Gann Asphalt keeps your parking lot safer and helps you and your business avoid unnecessary delays and costly expenses. Find Gann online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lot. David Starnes Allstate Insurance. Elevate your coverage, elevate your confidence, and drive worry-free. Covering all the important things in your world. Home, business, life, and even the fun stuff, as well as your motorcycle, boat, ATV, and you name it. Get with Dave, and he'll get you covered. You can give Dave and his crew a call at 816-781-7331. Visit them online or stop into any of their locations, North Kansas City, Liberty, and Branson, Missouri. Don't put those insurance needs off any longer. Get with Dave today. He'll give you peace of mind for the things in your life most important to you. David Starnes, Allstate Insurance.
We just mentioned that it's early with Jac Caglianone. It's also early with Michael Garcia, but the returns are pretty good on him playing in the outfield and that his bat is turning the corner. It's early, but, MJ Melendez looks like the same old guy, right? How long do you wait on that? Chris Bubich, it's early, but he looks like an ace, not just, a solid replacement, for Brady Singer, but an ace. Salvi, it's early, but he looks old. He looks big, like everything in the season. Les, what are you ready to say? Okay, this is real, and this needs more time.
Man, Soren, that is a loaded question. Just a few games into the season, I agree with you on Salvi. He does look old, although he's still able to do enough. I mean, he's still a good enough catcher, a good enough hitter, at least to drive in runs and hit the ball hard, hit some home runs. So I think we're showing signs that it's near the end, but still he's Salvi, and he's good enough to lead this team and help. He can still throw guys out. And if that big body can get behind the plate and do what he does as much as he does, man, with that result, that's great. I'm good with that. Chris Bubich, again, we're talking about Jack. Let's wait a little bit. He's had two great starts and does look like an ace right now. But we all know one bad game, something could happen. We don't know. So I say we continue to watch the starts. But if you're going to put him in a position where you're going to say, is this guy, could he end up being your ace? I mean, you talk about a turnaround after his career previous and then the injury, and then as long as it took to him to come fight back, and then what you're getting out of him right now. Wow, what a great surprise. So I don't like just the fact that his statistics are there. I like the fact that you can still see his mind turning after he makes those throws. He's still kind of doing this and trying to work that hand and get that feel back in. So he's not just pitching well, he's throwing well, and he's thinking well. He's trying to understand the whole package of it. And that's a mature pitcher to me that and knows he still has more work to do. So I think that part of it is real. Ace, maybe. Yeah, that's exciting. Yeah, I mean, there's so many more things I could go in that's real and unreal. I want to hear from David on this as well. For those two, for me, I still think that they're real, still think they're legitimate, but there are some holes that I think we need to talk about as well as we go through.
David, what are you looking at there? You're like, this is real.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of the problem is anybody can have a 12-game stretch where it looks terrible, it looks great, and so that's why I think I don't know that 40 games is the answer, but 25 games maybe we're at the end of this stretch of 23 games. Maybe that's when we have a better idea. But I tell you, I like what Michael Garcia has done. I like he hits the ball hard. He barrels it way more often than he ever has in the past. His barrel rate this year went from 3.7% to 10.3%. early. It's early, and 2 bad games is probably down to like 5.8% or something. So we again pump the brakes because it's early, but he's putting great bat on the ball. So that's really big to me. I'm worried about Salvi, and even though it is early, there's a couple of things. One, bat speed way down. It's down 1.5 miles per hour basically, which maybe that's him trying to control it, and this is where we don't know. But maybe he's trying to control the bat a little bit better, or maybe he just can't swing it as hard anymore. He's not hitting it as hard. If you go to Baseball Savant, they've got the little graphs that are blue and red, and the expected numbers are okay. 258 expected average, 456 expected slugging percentage. That means the quality of contact is good enough that he's doing well. But the average exit velocity down in the 46th percentile. He hits the ball hard. That's what he does, and that's a little bit concerning. He's not moving well. The sprint speed is what it is. I think that there's some flaws in it because of the way that it gets measured, because Salvi doesn't sprint very often, but 22.6 feet per second is brutal. Like I was joking the other day that he was on first. And I said, it's going to take 4 hits to score him. And it's just, it's very difficult. And especially not to bash Vinnie Pascantino again, but those 2 back to back, I'm not sure how Michael Massey is ever going to score a run. Honestly, because he's right behind them on the bases. It's going to be brutal for him, and so I think they got to separate those 2 at some point, just because we talk about clogging the bases, they clog the bases. But so I think Chris Bubic, I think is for real. I think I don't know about an ERA under 1 for real, but yeah, I think that we have a pretty good idea based on what we saw last year and what we've seen this year. I think that's for real. I don't know that I'm not entirely ready to say MJ Melendez is a 4A player, but it's feeling that it's headed that direction. We'll see. He has had some better plate appearances, and he's hit the ball harder the last 3-4 games. And we say, oh, it's only 3 or 4 games. It's only 10 games. I think he's sat 2 games, so it's not like he's had a huge sample anyway. But it sort of looks like what we've seen for 3 years, and so I don't know that. I don't know that we can say it's not for real at this point, but my opinion, like when we do this in 2 weeks, I think we'll have a much better idea of what's real. Mm-hmm. And I think that we can make some statements that are not necessary, that don't end up looking like hot takes in 3 months. They feel a little bit better, but I mean, we're you get closer and closer every day. Right. And the Royals not having any off days gets us closer quicker, which is good for us at least.
Yeah. What do you see in Michael Garcia as far as him at the plate, Les? I mean, why does he seem to be getting more of what he wants and a guy like MJ Melendez isn't?
Yeah, again, it's movement. I mean, you look at Garcia's adjustments at the plate versus Melendez's adjustments at the plate. First of all, they both needed to make adjustments, but if you watch, and the outfield camera is always panning straight over the pitcher's shoulder. If you watch an MJ Melendez at bat, you're going to see. So the way you guys are looking at me at the camera. Okay, the line of the pitch is coming this way. And so a hitter's head should be moving along this line. Well, if I'm a left-hander, and I'm not going to turn and jack my camera up, but if I'm a left-hander and I'm hitting, my head shouldn't be doing this because the pitcher's out there toward where you guys are at. So you should see movement toward me. And then once my right foot plants as a left-handed hitter, you should see my head be still and maybe rotate this way, but stop moving this way and stop moving this way so I can just take my hands to the ball. And so often, MJ Melendez will swing at an outside pitch, and his head will be falling to the first base dugout. His back foot is off the ground, and that's not necessarily, the old Frank Thomas, the big galoot swing. His back foot came forward all the time, but he was against the strong front side, and so his head was still, so his hands could clear, his hips could clear, and he could get to the ball. The adjustment that Michael Garcia made was he had a longer stride for a guy that's only 6 foot, 6'1", 180 pounds, but he needs to generate that forward because he only weighs 180 pounds. And so, that home run he hit against the Brewers to center field was an absolute bomb. And the pitcher supplied a lot of that power. But now, as Garcia strides out, he plants. His timing is way better. He plants, and then he rotates on his backside and keeps his head still so his hands can clear to the ball. If you slow-mo a video down and watch Garcia at the point of, okay, he's landed, now his hands are committing to the ball, his head is against the front side. It's like his head's into a brick wall, and you see Melendez do the same thing. He's sliding side to side. He's sliding forward. He's still rolling over. So whatever adjustments that MJ Melendez made, I saw a little bit in spring training. I saw a little bit maybe the first couple games of the regular season, but now I'm seeing him starts to drift back. And when you panic and mentally you're frustrated, you start to go to your default setting. And MJ Melendez's default setting is movement everywhere. It's like the old Willie the Water Bug. This stuff's flying all over the place, or those things at car dealerships where you see this guy all over the place. And I'm not really trying to make fun. What I'm saying is it's massive movement. So Garcia, I think, is for real because you're seeing the results of still head movement. Melendez is panicking in his mind. He understands this is probably going to be his last chance, and you can't get better if there's movement all over the place. That's why Garcia's, upwards. He's hitting, I think 308 right now. And I know it's a small sample size, but still 308 versus Melendez 111. It's all about head movement. And until that changes, Melendez is going to be on the downtrend and Garcia is going to be on the uptrend.
Yeah. And let's hope they can, if they can get one of those guys to be an everyday guy. I don't want to say mission accomplished, but it's at least more than what you had last year. I mean, I know Michael played every day, but his bat didn't really warrant it. They played him
not at the end though. I mean, he was hitting a lot when they got to DeYoung and Tommy. I guess really it was more DeYoung that took his playing time. But he wasn't an everyday guy. And to that point, people always say, "Oh, this player A has to hit, player B has to hit." I don't care if player A or B hit. If it's player Z who hits, they just need somebody to do it. It doesn't really matter who it is. And if it's Garcia, it's Garcia.
Right. How about Drew Waters? David, what should we expect from Drew Waters this go around?
Well, it's you talk about small sample in the majors, it's even smaller in the minors, but he's done a couple things this year that I think are a little bit are interesting at the very least. He's hitting the ball harder. He's taking more pitches. He's swinging and missing. I think he's whipping about 3 or 4% less than last season. He's barreling the ball more. He looks really good and comfortable in AAA right now. And I don't know what we can expect from him because I think he's probably kind of a tweener player. I don't think you're going to look up in 10 years and see, Drew Waters has been a big leaguer every year and gotten 450, 500 plate appearances every year. But it goes back to something that we talked about. I think it was last week. They should ride the hot hand. And right now, Drew Waters is looking good. He's in a good space. His swing is in a good spot on both sides. I'm assuming he's mentally in a good place because he's playing well, which I think it's hard to play well and not be in a good place mentally. I feel like Les can probably attest to that. It's possible. It's difficult.
Right.
And so he's in a spot right now where he can come up, and I don't know how long Cannon's going to be out, but Drew Waters can continue this because his swing is looking really good. It's similar to what we talked about with Melendez and Garcia because Garcia is still by the way, Garcia added that toe tap. I saw that in the comments. That I think has really helped his timing a little bit. Mm-hmm. Drew Waters, I don't know if he has because I haven't watched a lot of AAA, but there was something I noticed, and I need to go back and look at some video, but it looked like he maybe added some timing mechanism a little bit in the offseason. So that's a little bit encouraging. Some guys just need that reminder that whatever it is, whether it's a toe tap or an elbow drop or something, some guys just need that to get their swing started at the right time. So I think that the hope is that he can continue the strong play, and it's worth it. It's worth it to give him a shot. And if it doesn't work, when it stops working, if it stops working, whatever, move on to the next guy, whether it's Rave or Gentry or whoever. And look, maybe guys have figured it out. Maybe he's figured it out. Maybe this is the start of him figuring it out. But if it's not, ride it while it's hot.
Les, if he doesn't play on a fairly regular basis, it's clear the Royals have moved on from him, right?
Yeah. I agree with that. I mean, I hate the 4A player moniker because that's what I was labeled. And that's why I didn't get the call-ups when I was in the Cleveland organization in AAA, when I was in the Texas organization in AAA, both having good seasons, doing really well, labeled a 4A player, not going to get called up, not on the big league roster, not going to waste the paper move. And it was frustrating. It's one of the reasons why I retired when I did, because I didn't want to raise kids from a road and keep playing when obviously I didn't sign a professional contract just so I could just play AAA baseball for the rest of my life. I mean, it wasn't going to be there. And so with Drew Waters, his season of 2023 showed some promise. I mean, he hit, I think, 11 doubles, 5 triples, 8 homers. He only hit 228. The problem was that he struck out 107 times. That's a lot, but at least that gives him an opportunity. And just because Canna went on the DL, this is still Drew Waters' time to shine because of MJ Melendez and because of Hunter Renfroe not producing. So this is a time that Drew Waters can shake that 4A moniker and start to show people, you know what, he can be a serviceable, decent, even above average big league player every day, and he can have a roster spot. Look, we've gone with MJ Melendez for so long. Why not let that be Drew Waters now, just to see what he can do? But Drew Waters is also a center fielder. He's a little bit better of a runner. He's definitely got a better swing. You don't have to sit him against righties. You don't have to sit him against lefties. He's an option to be out there every day, being able to be a switch hitter. He can steal bases. He's a good center fielder. He's got a good arm. There's so many positives here. And so this is a great time for Drew Waters to also relax mentally and come up and just know you're going to play. But to your point, Soren, if they bring him up here and they don't play him, then they're just not either serious about him or I don't know what their plans are. But for me right now, I'm comfortable with this call up because Drew Waters now has a chance to show what he can do.
The power potential of MJ Melendez seems to have won out between those two, right? Or they don't like the attitude of Drew Waters. He's either cancerous in the clubhouse or they're just, certainly David looking for power, right? Because there's no other reason to go with Melendez over him.
Yeah, I mean, Melendez has the better minor league track record, so at least there's that. That's grasping at straws if you're looking for other reasons. But yeah, I mean, I think that's a part of it. I wonder a little bit what they think of his baseball acumen. He's done some things over the years in the big leagues that it could very well be, hey, I'm pressing because I know that if I do anything wrong, I'm going to get sent back down. But he's done a couple of things that you look at and you go, why would a baseball player do that? Of course, so is MJ Melendez. So, I mean, that's not to say that it's only Drew Waters who makes those mental mistakes. But yeah, I'm interested to see what he can do. And if he can, they've got two guys who need to lose playing time in the outfield. So it doesn't have to be Melendez. He takes over for long-term and big picture. But yeah, I think it's got to be the power for Melendez, but Drew Waters is not without power either, right? He's hit. He's got some home runs. He's done some really good things offensively throughout his minor league career, and they gave up a draft pick for him. I mean, they traded a comp A pick for Drew Waters, and they got the CJ Alexander and then Andrew Hoffman as well, but it was for Drew Waters. So they spent a first round pick basically on him as well, and I'm interested to see what he does with his shot. I'm interested to see if he actually gets his shot. I'm sure the lineup will come out here in the next half hour, 45 minutes or so. I'm hoping he's in it because he needs to be. He needs to be in there every day while he's up and see if what he's done in AAA to start the season can translate.
Yep, you'd like to see what he can do. That's for sure. One more with the Twins. Then they go to Cleveland for 3, New York for 3. That's the next time we'll talk to you is when they get ready to play the Tigers then for 4. 10-game road trip. It's a big one. We'll know a lot more about this club at the end of that 10-game trip. You'll know a lot more about your insurance needs if you contact David Starnes, Allstate Insurance. Give his crew a call at 816-781-7331. Everything when it comes to insurance, David Starnes has got you covered. Parking lots of one company in Kansas City has been servicing parking lots, all ways, all shapes, all possibilities. One contractor, all things parking lot. Gann Asphalt and Concrete keeps your parking lot safer, helps you avoid unnecessary delays and costly expenses. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com. And if you've been hurt in an accident, it's Kansas City's Google 5-star rated personal injury lawyers, Northland Injury Law. Serving KC for more than 40 years. Text HURT to 22222 if you have a case. For Les Norman, for David Lesky, I'm Soren Petro saying thank you very much for joining us here on the Kaufman Corner Podcast.